l'ensemble de ses pilotes sur la grille de départ. Un dernier petit seconde de fermeture de la pit lane.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Paul Ricard for the 6th race of the International GTOpen season. The cars coming to the grid now on a gorgeous afternoon here in the south of France, where Andrea Caldarelli is going to line up in pole position, having set the pace in qualifying this morning. He will share the front row with the Lechner Racing Mercedes, there it is, of Thomas Jaeger, who was running him close during qualifying earlier on. With a 26-car field expected to take the start, having unfortunately lost the Triple F Racing Lamborghini yesterday and also the Jordan Racing Bentley overnight, we should be in for a very entertaining hour of action as the grid starting to fill up with this field of supercars. And Jaeger, one of the last competitors due to take his marks on the grid. Then the second row of the grid, Marco Ciocci in the AF Corse Ferrari 488, and Fran Rueda, who's having an excellent weekend in the Automotive Motorsport BMW. Let's have a look back at the best of yesterday's race then, where Augusto Farfus got the jump on Michael Mack and Tom Onslow-Cole as they elbowed each other into the opening turn. Amazingly, everybody made it through cleanly. It was Farfus who took the lead for the first half of the race. Further back there was contact and a quick spin for the Hendrik Still and the Conrad Motorsport Lamborghini as Michael Mack began to pick his way back through, moving ahead of Rob Bell before chasing down Augusto Farfus. Tom Onslow-Cole also had a superb performance, but then they all caught Farfus in the BMW and it got very, very frantic as we headed towards the mid-race pit stops. Onslow-Cole looking to scythe his way through the pack of cars, which was also joined by Giovanni Venturini in the Imperiale Lamborghini. Sadly, all of the efforts of Farfus came to naught. Smoking BMW at the pit stops, and therefore they couldn't go on. Post-pit stops, it was Miguel Ramos who emerged in the lead. That was the move that elevated Thomas Biaggi ahead of Valentin Pierberg for second position. But for Miguel Ramos and Michael Mack, their first victory of the campaign, and a win that brings them up to third in the championship standings as a result on what was a bad day for both the Lexus combinations. It's a celebration, the Spirit of Race Ferrari team also going very well for Thomas Biaggi and Giovanni Venturini. They finished in second, with Valentin Pierberg and Onslow-Cole finishing third, and the Pro-Am victors. So that was yesterday. What will this afternoon bring? Well, it's certainly going to be a race, I think, of two halves, because we have got Pro-Am combinations in the top 3 places on the grid. Caldarelli, Jaeger and Ciocci all handing over to bronze-rated drivers mid-race, which then puts the advantage in the hands, one would suggest, of either Fran Rueda in the Teo Martin BMW or Vito Postiglione in the Imperiale Lamborghini, 4th and 5th on the grid, to possibly take advantage of that situation over the race duration. There will be others who will potentially come into the mix as well a little bit later on. Watch for the Balfe McLaren from 20th on the grid. Watch for the Garage 59 McLaren from 22nd on the grid. And certainly don't discount the 2 Lexus entries. The Emil Frey Racing Lexus in the hands of Philip Frommenweiler, lining up in 14th place. And the Farnbacher Racing Lexus of Dominic and Mario Farnbacher lining up in 16th. Good afternoon from Ben Evans here in Paul Ricard as we are just instants away from the start of the 6th race of the International GTOpen season. We're here at the Le Castellet circuit on a beautiful afternoon with a very full field of supercars about to be unleashed for an hour of racing. They're already on their formation lap, a 26-car field headed by Andrea Caldarelli in the SF Racing Ferrari, sharing the front row with Thomas Jaeger in the Lechner Racing Mercedes, and with Marco Ciocci and Fran Rueda making up a very strong second row of the grid. We have got many marks represented throughout the field, and we've got a championship fight that's coming to the boil nicely as well. Coming into this afternoon's race, it's Albert Costa and Philipp Frommenwieler who lead the championship on 41 points, ahead of Dominic and Mario Farnbacher on 38 points, but the two Lexus entries starting 14th and 16th on the grid respectively. Ricard Ramos and Michael Mack are third in the standings on 34 points, as are Thomas Biaggi and Giovanni Venturini. And then fifth in the championship, Sean Balfe and Rob Bell on 31 points, but that Balfe Motorsport McLaren will be starting somewhere down in 20th position. So it's Caldarelli in the black and silver Ferrari who leads the field around behind the pace car before they form up side by side, ready for the hour's race. When we do get underway, there is of course the mandatory pit stop. That comes between 36 and 24 minutes of the race. So there is that element of strategy. There's the opportunity to under or overcut by up to 5 laps, depending, of course, on whether or not we have the intervention of a safety car. Yesterday, we were treated to an absolutely fantastic fight in the first half of the race, as pretty much everybody started to bully the BMW of Augusto Farfus as we headed towards the mid-race pit stops. Today, if things play out nicely, it could really swing in favour of the sister car. There it is, of Fran Rueda, who lines up 4th on the grid, because he and Victor Bouveng have had a very solid weekend so far. They had a good drive through to a 5th place finish yesterday. They're in pursuit of their second podium of the season. Vito Postiglione and Andrea Fontana. Postiglione starting 5th on the grid in the Imperiale Lamborghini could also see events flow into their favour, as neither of them have got any success handicaps. The field all bunching up as they head towards the Virage du Pont, as they head out to the tight right-hander. They'll look to the gantry. When the lights change, we'll be racing for an hour here in France. So it's Caldarelli who paces the field in the SF Racing Ferrari. Everybody else bunching up behind. What can the Lexus cars do? What could some of those lower down the field do? We will find out as the lights are about to change, and away we go. And it's a good start from Caldarelli. It's a very good start as well from Alan Hellmeister in the silver Drivex Mercedes as they turn into the opening sweep. It's all a little bit close. Postiglione runs out wide, as does the sister Imperiale car, as does half of the field, but no contact, fortunately. So it's Caldarelli from Jaeger, then Marco Ciocci, Postiglione, Fran Rueda, Com Ledegaard trying to sneak his way through. Lorenco Baer out of Jaeger also going strongly. It's the Ratón Racing Lamborghini of Kang Ling, which takes evasive action. He's going to have to find a hole in the traffic to rejoin where he's not gained an advantage, as Miguel Ramos goes side by side with Philipp Frommenwieler. Caldarelli flicks out of the left-hander onto the Mistral straight for the first time. Ledegaard runs wide, so does Frommenwieler. So does Martin Conrad in the NMS Mercedes. Down Mistral straight, they head towards the chicane. Sits in the middle of the straight, the leading group of cars all running line astern. And potential move on the cards further back, and that was Thomas Biaggi looking to the inside of Mauro Calamia. Kang Ling, part of that scrap as well, and he has got Jose Balviani just in the mix with him too. On towards the Courbe du Cygne. Caldarelli trying to stretch clear of Jaeger, Ciocci, then Fran Rueda and Hellmeister as side by side for Vito Postiglione and Com Ledegaard. They've got Lorenco Baer out of Jaeger just behind them, as well as Ledegaard up over the curbs. Again, very wide from Kang Ling. It opens the door to the Farnbacher Lexus, and it is Sporting Mercedes that was momentarily squeezed. Davide Rizzo in the Kaspersky Motorsport Ferrari trying to make ground too. But somehow through it all, they've all conspired not to make contact with each other, which is the most important thing, as again, Mario Farnbacher running a little bit wide in the Lexus. He is having a fairly torrid first lap as he still goes side by side with Jose Balbiani. The rest of the field all queuing up behind. And Mario Farnbacher now able to assert the position as Kang Ling looks to launch the inside of Davide Rizzo. Johnny Molam and Valentin Pierberg getting a little bit close for comfort. Sean Balfe in that as well. The leading quintet, however, are through and gone. Then there's a gap in the traffic back to Postiglione as Miguel Ramos looks to challenge Philip Fromenvila, and Ramos looks to the outside of Fromenvila through the opening turn, and that should work for Miguel Ramos. He goes through just ahead of the Lexus, but it opens the door to Thomas Biaggi and maybe Mauro Calamir, because the 007 Solaris Aston Martin, the quickest car all weekend in the speed traps, they're squabbling over 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. As they pick their way downhill, they may be joined fairly shortly by Mario Farnbacher. As they wind up through turn 6 and then kick out of the left-hander onto the Mistral straight. Second time of asking. Caldarelli's advantage just a second over Thomas Jaeger, then Sciocci, Fran Rueda. Still out trouble staying with them. Lorenzo Beirao de Viega also going strongly in the other of the Teo Marti Motorsport BMWs. There he is, the very quick Farfus to take over later on, as again Kang Ling in the Ratón Lamborghini taking a slightly ambitious approach to the braking point. Runs offline. No word as yet that he may be under investigation, because he's giving back the places that he's gaining through those wayward moments. It's Thomas Biaggi. This is a fight for championship points with Philip Fromenvila. Biaggi would like, if he could, to overhaul the Emil Frey Racing Lexus, and tucked up behind Mauro Calamir. Now here is another look. Kang Ling, he was maybe just caught out there by Jose Balbiani, slowing the sporting new Mercedes a little bit more than he had anticipated. None of this any concern for Caldarelli, Jaeger or Sciocci. Fran Rueda doing a good job staying with them, but the challenge is going to be how the BMW can manage its tyres, because yesterday, towards the end of his stint, Augusto Farfus looked like he had got a whole heap of no grip whatsoever. But at the moment, Rueda, he can keep that leading trio in sight. Likewise, the Drivex Mercedes, and Hellmeister doing a good job in 5th. Vito Postiglione, there he is in 6th. Com Ledegaard just behind him in the first of the McLarens. Then Lorenzo Beirao de Viega, Miguel Ramos, and then a slight gap back to Philip Fromenvila. Still under pressure from Thomas Biaggi. Biaggi, the reigning International GTOpen champion, of course. That was with Team Lazarus last year, switching to Imperiale for this season, as Mauro Calamir just bounces across the curb. The Solaris Aston Martin squad, if it wasn't for bad luck, they would have had absolutely none whatsoever so far this year. There's a lot of people hoping that they get a good result out of this afternoon. And there is Team Solaris on the pit wall, watching events unfold. Calamir certainly keeping the car in contention in the early running, as the magnificent sight of the field stretching down the Mistral straight. Now is Mario Farnbacher under a little bit of pressure behind from Davide Rizzo. No, he's not. Philip Fromenvila, though, could be under threat here from Thomas Biaggi as they punch their way towards the Courbe du Cygne. Biaggi, though, not able to get the overlap with the Lexus. Now, where is Sean Balfe? He is currently in 20th place, just behind Johnny Molam in the FF Corse Ferrari. Again, that's important with an eye towards championship standings. As Miguel Ramos tries to wind up the pressure on Lorenzo Beirao de Viega, the Portuguese driver, well, Portuguese drivers, Beirao de Viega, veteran of the Seat Leon Euro Cup. Miguel Ramos, the 2015 International GTOpen champion. He, with yesterday's results, has continued his remarkable streak of winning races in the International GTOpen. Always seems to be able to pull out at least one victory each and every year. And he's now got a good run here on the BMW as the pair of them sprint along to complete the 3rd lap of the race. The BMW, though, has got a fair amount of torque. Punches a good straight line. So although Ramos feigns to the inside, there's nothing he could really do. Instead follows the BMW through turns 1 and 2. Likewise, Thomas Biaggi unable to make much progress on the Lexus. Now, this is the section of the circuit that might suit the Ferrari 488 a little bit more. And the same for Lamborghini Huracan. Transmissions protesting as the drivers flick down through the gears. And there you can see in the back of the shot, Caldarelli romping clear as now Com Ledegaard looking to challenge and make some ground. Postiglione has already moved up into 5th position. Now the Drivex Mercedes might lose another place here. Ledegaard flashes his headlights. It's under braking that the McLaren might get the advantage over the Mercedes. And Ledegaard comes out of the bubble, tries to make the calculation. Can he? No, he can't. So he slots back in. Look to threaten again towards the Corse scene again. And Hellmeister just slightly offline as they came out of the chicane. It gives the McLaren the chance to challenge. A little bit of a look from Ledegaard. He's not close enough to threaten into the Corse scene. If he can just fluster the Mercedes into an error, then maybe at the Double Joie de Beausset. That's what he's hoping for. But the Brazilian at the moment keeping the Frenchman behind him. Well, there's half a hole to the inside. Ledegaard was tempted. Didn't quite have the propulsion to punch his way through, make the move, but he's now poised to challenge through this final section of the lap. This is really where the McLaren starts to come into its own, because it's corner after corner after corner, and the nimble, agile changes of direction for the McLaren should suit Ledegaard. He thinks better of a nibble to the inside through the right hand as they come out of the Virage du Pont. Sprint along, another lap reeled off, running very, very wide in the background. That was Miguel Ramos through the Virage du Pont. Ramos flashing his headlights, clearly in frustration at the Renko Beirao de Viega. Didn't quite see what instigated that. As at the front of the field, it is Andrea Caldarelli who leads, 2 seconds clear of Thomas Jaeger. Marco Ciocci a further second back from that. Fran Rueda then in 4th. 5th is Vito Postiglione. We are watching the fight for 6th and 7th between Alan Hellmeister and the Drivex Mercedes, and Com Ledegaard in the Garage 59 McLaren. Both of these Pro-Am class entries. And the way that Caldarelli's stretching the field, this could work out quite nicely for Marcello and Hahn and Alex West when they take over in the Mercedes and McLaren respectively later on in the race. Now here is a look at Ramos looking to the inside of the Renko Beirao de Viega, and then Miguel Ramos running out wide, and the BMW reclaiming the position. And clearly Miguel Ramos feels that he's got a good car underneath him this weekend. We saw that with the victory yesterday, and he is looking very punchy in the early stages. For Andrea Caldarelli, he'll pass over to Fu Song Yang mid-race. Thomas Jaeger to Mario Plasciuta. Marco Ciocci to Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. And now this is a scrap for 2nd place in the AM class between Jose Balbiani and Martin Conrad. As Ramos continues to pursue the Renko Beirao de Viega into the Double Joie de Beausset. Ferrari 488 can't quite get onto terms with the BMW. It is allowing, though, in the background you can see Philip Fromenvila and Thomas Biaggi to start to latch back onto the tail. And this is what happened yesterday with the 51 car with Augusto Favs at the wheel. Pretty much a carbon copy. The Ferrari 488 swarming all over its tail, and as they fought, it allowed the pack behind to close up. Is there an opening for Miguel? Oh, there's contact from Miguel Ramos into Renko Beirao de Viega as the BMW kicked sideways. I hope they've not picked up any damage, but that was a fairly hefty tap. Now somebody's smoking. Oh, it's Miguel Ramos who has got some bodywork rubbing against the tyre of the Ferrari as he accelerates towards turn 1. For now, hopefully that's just a little bit of abrasion and it's not going to lead to a puncture, but you can see the reprofiled front spoiler rubbing up against the Michelin tyre. Rueful shake of the head from Michael Mack. This is going to feel like a very long lap here for Miguel Ramos, because the last thing he wants to do is push the tyre too hard and it gets a cut. The good news is, though, that aside, neither Ramos nor Beirao appear to have sustained much in the way of damage. There is Mauro Calamir. He's busy battling with Davide Rizzo. Rizzo having seen off the challenger Mario Farnbacher, who is currently languishing in 15th. Here's another look at it then. And Ramos just catches the BMW mid-corner. There's nothing Ramos can do, and as the BMW slip back across the track, further contact. That's really what's caused the damage to Ramos. Doesn't look like there's anything malicious in it, just maybe a slight misjudgment. But the result is potentially a damaging one for Miguel Ramos. I apologise, by the way, if you heard anything on the pit wall then. Emotions running high as Renko Berard de Viega under pressure from Philip Frommenvila into the Courbe de Scene. Lurking with intent, Thomas Biaggi just behind. We're on the 6th lap of the race as Berard runs wide through the Double Droit de Beausset, and Philip Frommenvila able to sneak up ahead of the Aston Martin Motorsport BMW. Thomas Biaggi looking to try and do the same. Not unsurprisingly, word comes through that the incident is under investigation. Not unsurprisingly, one would imagine there's probably two quite divergent points of view about what unfolded then. So Frommenvila up into 9th place as a result of that move. So the order is Caldarelli still leads, Thomas Jaeger is 2nd, Marco Ciocci 3rd, Fran Rueda is 4th, 5th Vito Postiglione, 6th Alan Hellmeister, 7th Com Ledegaard, 8th Miguel Ramos, looks like he's rubbed off the offending piece of bodywork, 9th Philip Frommenvila, 10th Lourenco Berard de Viega, 11th Thomas Biaggi, and 12th Davide Rizzo. Rizzo leading the AM class at the moment. Absolutely intriguing race, a little bit sideways there. Oh, and a problem for Lourenco Berard de Viega. He pulls to a halt as he picks up a puncture there in the Aston Martin Motorsport BMW. The way that Berard just suddenly backed right out of it, will try and pick up a shot of the BMW momentarily because he has slowed right down. He's pulling off the course, and that is such wretched luck for Lourenco Berard de Viega because he has had a potentially race-winning car underneath him in both races this weekend, and it looks as if bad luck is going to cost him. Now, the fact he's still touring, to me, suggests a puncture as more bad luck for the Farnbacher Lexus. They have already won 2 races this year, but that is now their 3rd retirement, and it's going to hurt their championship chances. It's been a really rotten weekend for Dominic Mario Farnbacher. 2 DNFs from both races. So there is Lourenco Berard de Viega, and sadly, that looks like it is that for the BMW. Really, really unfortunate, because he's made an excellent start to the race, was showing strongly on pace. But that contact with Miguel Ramos clearly doing some damage to the internals of the BMW. So he pulls out of the race. Just over 1/4 race distance completed. We are 9 minutes away from the pit window opening. That's where we'll start to the end. So strategy coming to play as Davide Rizzo, who was looking good in qualifying this morning in the Kaspersky Motorsport Ferrari, now looking to turn up the heat on Thomas Biaggi. Kang Ling, after all these early adventures, also with them. This is the fight for 10th, 11th and 12th. They've got Mauro Calamia just behind them in the Solaris Aston. All trying to chase Philip Frommenvila in 9th position. There is the Emil Frey Racing Lexus now for Frommenvila and Albert Costa. More points today will potentially consolidate a championship lead, particularly at the moment as Thomas Biaggi running behind them with Rizzo and Ling in very, very close company. The bright gold Ratón Racing Lamborghini behind the Kaspersky Motorsport Ferrari 488 as they swing out of the Virage d'École, the sprint along the Mistral Straight in towards the breakers and chicane. There is the Drivex Mercedes in 6th position at the moment, and Hellmeister. We've already seen the leader go. Caldarelli, then Jaeger. That was the Scarlet Ferrari Ciocci. Fran Rueda, the first of the all-pro combinations, in 4th. He's got Vito Postiglione just behind him in 5th. Be fascinating to see the battle in the second half of the race between the Aston Martin Motorsport BMW, the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. You've got the Drivex Mercedes of Hellmeister in 6th, Com Ledegaard in 7th, Miguel Ramos continuing in 8th, but somewhere adrift of Ledegaard. The leading 7 cars covered by 14 seconds. Then there's a gap of 9 seconds back to Ramos in 8th position. field picking their way through the third sector, coming towards the end of the 8th lap of the race. And Andrea Caldarelli absolutely flying at the front of the field, and the SF Racing Ferrari, he wants to give Fusong Yang as much of an advantage as he can. Meanwhile, Johnny Molam under a little bit of pressure from Kiko Galbiati. It's not been the easiest of weekends for the FF Corse team. And they're bottled up behind the fight for second in the AM class between Jose Balbiani and Martin Conrad in the two Mercedes. Then it's the Ferrari and the Lamborghini just in pursuit. And they can see Mauro Calamia's Aston Martin to chase down in front of them. Then we've got Sean Balfe, who's next long. He's doing battle with Valentin Pierberg and Michael Bedham for 18th, 19th and 20th. Andrea Caldarelli leads the way. Then Mario, he will pass over to Fusong Yang. Thomas Jaeger in second. He's got Mario Plasciuta waiting the wings. And then Pier Giuseppe Perezzini to take over from Marco Ciocci. And this leading trio of cars, they are building up quite a nice buffer. We should be in for an absolutely fascinating second half of the race, particularly when we see what Fran Rueda and Vito Postiglione do with their pit stops in about 5 minutes or so time. So Caldarelli's lead over Jaeger, 4.3 seconds. The Lechner Racing Mercedes, always one of the most attractive and immaculately prepared cars in the field. And Jaeger has been right on it this weekend. He was scything through the pack in the second half of yesterday's race, did what he needed to do in qualifying this morning, and it means that he's now at the front of the field and is certainly giving Mario Plasciuta the opportunity of a trip to the Pro-Am podium, if not the overall race podium. Because the gap to watch for is the one that Jaeger has over Fran Rueda, Vito Postiglione, and it's currently 6 seconds and then more, which is, if not an eminently defensible margin for Mario Plasciuta, certainly as it continues to grow, it will give them an opportunity of being right in contention. The pit window, of course, closes when there are 24 minutes left on the clock, so it's another 16 minutes for this group of cars if they want them to stay out on track. There is Marco Ciocci, who, as ever, yesterday was aggressively fighting his way through the field, but doing a fantastic job of it. In qualifying this morning, we never quite got to see his full potential. Every lap had a slight interruption. Now, here come the first two all-pro pairings, Fran Rueda, Vito Postiglione, running in 4th and 5th. And the way that this race is going to unfold is absolutely tantalising, because pit strategy is going to come to the fore. The pace of the second drivers in the leading trio of cars is going to be fascinating. Now, here is the Balfe, Pierberg and Benham battle that we were talking about. The SPS Automotive Mercedes, sandwiched between the two McLarens. Sean Balfe has got Rob Bell to pass over to. In the case of Mike Benham, it's Duncan Tappy. They have got Davide Roda just in behind them. As confirmation, at the bottom of your screen, a 10-second penalty to Miguel Ramos for that contact with Lorenzo Beraldo de Viega. So he and Mikel Mack are in for a fairly long afternoon. Meanwhile, Davide Rizzo up behind Thomas Biaggi, who is still pressurising Philip Fromenvila. And Fromenvila in the Lexus defends the line into the chicane. Biaggi had already committed a little bit to a move to the inside. It meant that Davide Rizzo almost fancied his chances to challenge to the outside of the Lamborghini. So they all concertina up, then begin to spread out from each other as they now accelerate in towards the Courbe du Cygne through the very rapid right-hander. This is the battle for 9th place. Kangling still with them in the Ratón Racing Lamborghini as they negotiate the Dubois de Beauzet for that short spurt uphill into double left-hander. Then the road swings right, left again, and then the very tight right to bring them to the end of the lap. So Caldarelli leads by 5 seconds over Jaeger. Jaeger 1.8 seconds over Marco Ciocci. An interesting battle as well, second half of the race, between Mario Plasciuta and Pier Giuseppe Perezzini when they inherit the Jaeger and Ciocci cars. And then Ciocci's had a very good lap relative to Fran Rueda. He's now 5 seconds clear of the BMW. And as ever, Marco Ciocci using all the curbs in the Ferrari 488. Trying to get every tenth of a second that he possibly can. And now winds up the throttle for the run towards the Mistral straight. Out of the left-hander at Virage Decaux. Decaux on to straight as the Rizzo and Biaggi battle a couple hundred metres further back down the track, and actually about 20 seconds behind Marco Ciocci, this tussle. So Albert Costa, when he takes over from Philip Fromenvila, might be able to get a wiggle on. The same for Giovanni Venturini. Takes over from Thomas Biaggi. Now on adjusted time, of course, this group of cars are all really fighting for 8th because of that time penalty for Miguel Ramos. As again, Biaggi defends from Davide Rizzo. Rizzo looks the outside of the Lamborghini, and so Biaggi is almost having to attack to defend his position. It succeeds in that he stays where he was, doesn't lose ground to Philip Fromenvila, doesn't get overhauled by Davide Rizzo, but Rizzo in the Kaspersky Ferrari now maybe tries to pull alongside on the run down towards the Courbe du Cygne. Nothing doing. They hurtle through the right-hander as the road then starts to fall away towards the Double Doigt de Beauzet. They can take a big bite of the flat curb on the way in and then start to swing uphill. Sun glinting off the cars. Driver we've not seen masses of in 7th place, Com Ledegaard, 17 seconds off the lead, but with a 10-second buffer over Miguel Ramos. So for Alex West and Com Ledegaard in the Pro-Am class, that's a possibility of a podium opening up as Rizzo looks to the inside of Thomas Biaggi. Biaggi again just has to feign across, cover the inside line. So they reel off lap 11, head into the 12th lap of the race. The pit window opening imminently. Now we might see that Valentin Pierberg, Sean Balfe and others can potentially peel into the pits on this occasion. There you have it. Pit lane is open. We'll see if anybody darts into the pits at the first opportunity. Still Rizzo closes up on to Thomas Biaggi, and yes, into the pits comes Sean Balfe to hand over to Rob Bell. Slightly frustrating stint that for Balfe, but what can Bell do with over half the race to play with? Also in is Michael Benham to hand over to Duncan Tappy, and again, Tappy can fly in the Garage 59 McLaren. Andrea Caldarelli still leads the race, 5 seconds clear of Thomas Jaeger. 3rd is Marco Ciocci. 4th is Fran Rueda, Antonio Coimbra and Luis Silva. Switching in the sporty new Mercedes. Just keeping an eye as well to see if anybody's got new tyres held back for this final stint of the weekend. As we continue to enjoy this fight for 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. You get the feeling that if Thomas Biaggi could prize away past Philip Fromenvila, he'd probably be able to pull away from him relatively rapidly. Also all change over at Conrad Motorsport. Henrik Still taking over from Porche Neusner. That car was somewhere down. And also Geoffrey Donada getting into the AB Sport Auto Lamborghini, and he was very, very quick in the opening phase of yesterday's race. So quite a lot of developments to watch for as the race is into flux. For now, though, Caldarelli just pressing on. And for Andrea Caldarelli, this is exactly what he would have wanted to do. Put the car onto pole position and then stretch away at the front of the field. Fu Song Yang improving with each and every appearance. And this is a good opportunity for him to try and get onto the podium. He's certainly going to inherit the lead of the race. There'll be a question of just how quickly and how comfortably he can get up to pace when he does jump in the car. Then you see Duncan Tappy's emerged just ahead of Rob Bell. Also all change over Emil Frey, Lexus Albert Costa in for Philip Fromenvila. 2-time race winners this year, championship leaders. What can Costa do? It was a fairly torrid stint for Fromenvila as Rob Bell looking to try and overhaul Duncan Tappy. This is a fight for position. They got Thomas Jaeger, who they're not racing at this point in the race, just in behind them. But that car, they might be racing later on as Bell tries to carry the momentum onto the Mistral straight, accelerating towards the Courbe du Cygne. And Rob Bell, from this angle, looks to the inside of Duncan Tappy as Tom Onslow Cole takes over from Valentin Pierberg in the SPS Automotive Mercedes. Miguel Ramos and Mikel Mack switching to in Spirit of Race Ferrari. Now it's all change. Rob Bell making the move on Duncan Tappy. Thomas Jaeger putting the lap on Tappy as well. So it's Bell who is released. And given that Bell and Tappy are both fighting for overall championship as well as Pro-Am class honours, that's an important move for Bell to make. Tappy, though, I imagine will hook himself to Thomas Jaeger for the next few laps, try and stay with the Mercedes. So we're into the 14th lap of the race. Andrea Caldarelli leads it from Thomas Jaeger and Marco Ciocci. That group of cars yet to make their pit stops. The car that was in 4th place, though, Fran Rueda, ducks into the pits now to pass over to Victor Bouveng. So that promotes Vito Postiglione to 4th, Alan Hellmeister to 5th, Com Ledegar into 6th. Let's hope all goes smoothly here for the Teo Martin Motorsport team, as out jumps Rueda, in hops Bouveng. They've had one second-place finish this year. That came in Spa-Francorchamps, a very solid run to 5th yesterday. And they could just sneak a good result from this afternoon, as Marco Ciocci now gets up onto the tail of Duncan Tappy. Here is a look at the move from Rob Bell on Tappy. And yeah, Tappy got tapped then, didn't he, by Bell? Whether or not that comes under investigation, we will see. Hopefully, though, no damage to either McLaren, as Ciocci now looks to ease the inside of Tappy. Not masses that Duncan could do about that. And so he allows Ciocci through. Jaeger and Ciocci, they've got until there are 24 minutes left on the clock, as does the race leader Caldarelli. So they, by the time they get to the line, will probably have time to squeeze 2, maybe even 3 more laps out of their stint. So Jaeger just runs a little bit wide coming out of the Corse scene. And getting mixed up with Tappy and Bell means that Thomas Jaeger's given away a little bit of ground to Marco Ciocci. The Italian now just a second adrift of him. Then it's 7 seconds further back to Vito Postiglione. There you see Postiglione at the very back of your picture. Meanwhile, pit stop's been completed for Thomas Biaggi and Giovanni Venturini. They have switched around and have come out of the pits well clear of Albert Costa. We'll just keep an eye on that, because that feels a little bit unlikely with success seconds as into the pit lane. Now goes Thomas Jaeger, so he'll pass over to Mario Plasciuta. Great performance from Jaeger, and now Plasciuta poised to jump in. The Austrian slips into the cockpit for Lechner Racing Mercedes, so it promotes Marco Ciocci into 2nd place. How real a 2nd place that is, we will find out by the time all the pit stops have come to a conclusion. Ciocci winding up the pace of the Ferrari 488 as we just pass over half-race distance. Absolutely intriguing race here in Paul Ricard. Lots of different strategies at play, and it feels like it's all going to come together in the latter stages of the race, as we're going to have all the drivers being chased down late on. Meanwhile, into the pits comes Martin Conrad, Alexander Raquina to take over at the wheel of the MS Mercedes. Conrad out, Raquina in. Andrea Caldarelli getting in amongst a little bit of the traffic. It's Michael Grenier, who he is catching now. Grenier, who has also just emerged from the pits. And this is going to be the trick here for Caldarelli. He's got a slightly more worn tyres, potentially, compared to what the Lamborghini is running with. And Grenier, racing for his own position in the Antonelli Motorsport Lamborghini, isn't exactly going to leap aside to wave Caldarelli through, because these two cars could be racing for position later. But Caldarelli is going to go round one final time here. He's going to be right on the bubble for making his pit stop, as Marco Ciocci darts into pit lane. Alexander Fraquina emerges from the pits. Means that Grenier and Caldarelli ease past. So Chiocci is in to pass over to Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. There is the pit stop. Door open, up on the air jacks. Chiocci out, and the of course Ferrari team, as ever, very, very well drilled. Now Caldarelli to the inside of Grenier. And this has been an imperious drive from Andrea Caldarelli. Quite how it's going to reward them at the end of the race, we will find out. But Caldarelli going longer than anybody else. He's going to get 16 laps out of his stint as Antonio Coimbra pushing hard, but not quite as hard as Gianluca Giraldi, who goes around, promotes Coimbra in the AM class battle. There's a couple of other cars yet to have made their pit stop. Vito Postiglione, Alan Hellmeister, Com Ledegaard, Jose Balbiani amongst them. One or two of them, one wonders, might get a little bit close to the bubble. I think they'll be okay. There's Caldarelli. Accelerates out of the double de Beausset. He's getting in and amongst a lot of traffic. His next target is the AM class leader, Alex Moisev. There is Moisev's Ferrari, just ahead of Caldarelli. Caldarelli lapping in the 2-minute 7-second bracket. Pit window closes with 24 minutes left on the clock. If he really wanted to take the gamble, he could sneak in the lap, but he's not going to do it. So the race leader, Andrea Caldarelli, peels into the pits. The last non-pitters are yet to do so. Those that have pitted, it's Victor Bouveng, who is the foremost. He is ahead, it would appear, of Mario Plasciuta. In comes Vito Postiglione. Now, it's where Postiglione emerges, or rather that car emerges in the hands of Andrea Fontana, relative to that of Victor Bouveng, which rather suspect could determine who is going to win the race, as Marcello Hahn about to jump in to the cockpit of the Drivex Mercedes. It's been a very well sorted and competitive car all year, Drivex Mercedes. Also in goes Andrea Fontana, Postiglione having another starring role, as he did early on in Spa, but they've got a sticking wheel nut. You could see at the back of the pit stop. I wonder if that's going to affect them. Now, here is Mikel Mack in pursuit of Albert Costa. They're currently 12th and 13th in the standings. And there, up the road ahead of them, is Giovanni Venturini, Francesco Cini, 10th and 11th position. And you have Mario Plasciuta, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini just ahead of them. So Albert Costa pursuing the third victory of the season. Now here, out of the pit lane comes Fu Song Yang. So he is effectively the race leader. Now, here is Marcello Hahn, who accelerates on his way as Victor Bouveng slides past. So Bouveng has got that advantage over Andrea Fontana. Then it's Mario Plasciuta who comes on the scene. Alex West out ahead of Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. So lots of battles now coming to the fore. So it's Fu Song Yang who is effectively the race lead. Now, how quickly can Andrea Fontana slip past Marcello Hahn? Because if Fontana can clear Hahn, then there is a chance he can chase down Victor Bouveng. That's what he's going to be looking to do in the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. And Hahn makes the mistake coming out of turn 5, slips wide. Fontana darts past. Really, for Hahn, the battle he needs to be fighting isn't so much the one with Andrea Fontana, it's the one with Mario Plasciuta immediately behind him, because that is potentially going to determine the outcome of Pro-Am victory as a challenge. Now, to lead the race, Fu Song Yang under pressure from Victor Bouveng. And Bouveng in the BMW draws alongside them past the Ferrari. So Victor Bouveng becomes the new race leader. Second place to Fu Song Yang. Third is Andrea Fontana. Fourth, Marcello Hahn. Fifth, Mario Plasciuta. Sixth is Alex West. Seventh, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Eighth is Giovanni Venturini. Ninth, Francesco Cini. And 10th is Mikel Mack, though he's got a 10-second penalty. So Albert Costa effectively is the 10th place man. But now the question is, how are some of these gaps going to start to close down over the remainder of the race, because we have not got a huge field split. The top 6 cars covered by just 10 seconds. So here's a look at Mikael Mack to the inside of Albert Costa into turn 1. Now, Costa and Mack running in the 2-minute 8-second bracket. Marcello Hahn as just up ahead of him. There is Andrea Fontana putting the pressure onto Fu Song Yang. This is the battle for second position, let's not forget. Andrea Fontana looking for the moment, sees it into the Virage Dupont. Hopefully he's been seen by Fu Song Yang. He has, but as the Ferrari hesitates, that's going to give Marcello Hahn the chance to challenge for Pro-Am class lead. Caldarelli rehydrates as he watches his car doing battle with the Mercedes down the start and finish straight towards turn 1. This is the fight for third in the race overall. Hahn, the Brazilian, pressurising Fu Song Yang, and Hahn goes through. Plasciuta tries, succeeds to go around the outside of the Ferrari as well. So Mario Plasciuta goes 4th, second in the Pro-Am class. And now we have got a fascinating and tantalising battle in prospect. Andrea Fontana is 5.5 seconds adrift of Victor Bouveng. Can he start to close down on the Swede in the Aston Martin Motorsport BMW? The consensus is the Lamborghini Huracan is that a little bit gentler on its tyres, as Tom Onslow Cole sets fast lap of the race, than the BMW. But BMW is mighty potent in a straight line. And so that is going to be the fight to watch for. We also should keep an eye for the progress of Giuseppe Perezzini. There he is, already chasing down Fu Song Yang in the fight for 5th and 6th. There is 3rd place in the race overall that is up for grabs. So we've still got the likes of Rob Bell, who's absolutely flying, and several seconds lap quicker than some of the cars in this fight at the sharp end of the pack. But for Perezzini, he should be able to make the move on Fu Song Yang into the Courbe du Cygne. That's exactly what happens. So Perezzini goes 3rd in the Pro-Am class. He's got the 2 Mercedes ahead of him. Now, how does this lap compare for Andrea Fontana relative to that of the race leader, Victor Bouveng? Well, so far, Bouveng through the opening 2 sectors has been appreciably quicker than this man, Andrea Fontana. It's through the third sector where we might see the true colours of the Lamborghini. So Bouveng crosses the line now, does a 2-minute 7.7. Fontana, a lap behind on tyre temperature, does a 2 minutes 8.6, so he gives away 9/10 to Victor Bouveng. Bouveng therefore leads by 6.3 seconds, but has still got a third of the race to run. So here is our race leader, Victor Bouveng. And he and Fran Rueda having an excellent weekend. 5th place finish yesterday, richly deserved, and Rueda doing exactly what he needs to do in the opening stint of today's race, sitting behind the Hares in the Pro-Am class, knowing that Bouveng would be much of a muchness in terms of pace and consistency for the second half of the race. And now Bouveng's been released. He's got an empty track in front of him. He's got 20 minutes. And he is continuing to ease away from Andrea Fontana. Gained 0.3 of a second over the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini through the first sector. Behind, more battles, Duncan Tappy and Tom Onslow Cole. They are catching Alexander Raquina. This the fight for 16th, 17th and 18th. And Onslow Cole, alongside the MS Racing Mercedes, punches the SPS Automotive car through, gains the place. Imagine it won't be too long before Duncan Tappy is able to do similar. Sneaks past, and as such slips up into 17th position. Meanwhile, Alex West up ahead of Fu Song Yang, but watch in the background for the progress of Giovanni Venturini, Francesco Cini, and in particular Mikael Mack. Mack is flying at the wheel of the Ferrari 488. And he's a good 4 seconds lap quicker than Marcello Hahn and Mario Plasciuta. Got a very good battle forming for 3rd place between Hahn, Plasciuta and Giuseppe Perezzini. which might be joined by this man, Alex West, in fairly short order. West and Ledegaard pulled out a miraculous podium in race 2 at Spa-Francorchamps, and third place from the race overall today may be possible. We will see. Michael Benham watching in the Garage 59 pit box. As here is Andrea Fontana. Again, Fontana giving away 9/10 of a second to Victor Bouveng last time around. It means that he is getting no closer to the BMW, which now leads by 7.2 seconds. But it's the group of cars behind fighting for the Pro-Am honours, which is potentially where the battle is. There you see it in the back of your picture. So the gap from first to second. Then in the background in third, you've got Marcello Hahn. Fourth, Mario Plasciuta. Fifth, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. And it's Perezzini in the Scarlet Ferrari, headlights ablaze, who is getting onto terms with Mario Plasciuta here, and possibly might be looking to try and line up a move and challenge. This group of cars, they're all lapping in the 2-minute 10-second bracket, as Plasciuta a little bit offline through the chicane, trying to simultaneously defend from the Ferrari and get the exit speed. Mercedes, though, good in the straight line towards the Corbe de Scene, though. Perezzini looking to the inside here of Mario Plasciuta. Is he able to go past? Not quite. The camera angle slightly misleading. But the Ferrari in clear air, where you have seen, is a good couple of seconds lap quicker than the brace of Mercedes in front of him. For Perezzini, he needs to find a way past Plasciuta pretty promptly, because that will then release him to chase down Marcello Hahn. But all the while that Plasciuta defends from Perezzini, you can see it's allowing the Drivex Mercedes and Marcello Hahn to ease away. It might also allow Alex West, some 12 seconds back, to insert himself into this battle as well, as Perezzini thinks about a look to the inside of Plasciuta through the Virage du Pont. Nothing doing. They kick the car sideways as the throttle is applied, sprint along the start and finish straight. So they hurtle past the commentary box. There's nothing between them. About a third of a car length as Perezzini looks to the inside of the Mercedes on the brakes into turn 1, and Pier Giuseppe Perezzini slips through, snatches fourth position away from Mario Plasciuta to applause in the garage. And now he's off in pursuit of Marcello Hahn. Pro-Am victory a possibility. Third place in the race overall, also the prize if he can make that move. So that's what we will be watching for. Behind them, I should say, Giovanni Venturini in 7th is, well, he's 20 seconds back from this group, but he's closing at a rate of 3 to 4 seconds a lap onto their tail. He's got an awful lot of ground to make up. So Perezzini back into clear air. We have another look at the move into turn 1. The Italian absolutely committed to the inside line. Turns left, gets the applause. Perezzini and Chiocci there on the Pro-Am podium yesterday. Now here is a little bit of lappery. Andrea Fontana past Ivor Dunbar in the FF Corse Ferrari. Now that last lap for Andrea Fontana, for the first time in the stint, was a little bit better than that of Victor Bouveng. Whether or not that was traffic aided, we will find out, because Bouveng on this lap would appear to be looking likely to re-extend his advantage over Andrea Fontana. But for now, Fontana about to come to the end of his 21st lap of the race. There is the car he's chasing, Victor Bouveng in the Teo Marti Motorsport BMW. Bouveng at 2 minutes 8.8. It's a 2 minutes 9.7 for Andrea Fontana. So Bouveng again reasserting his advantage, goes back out to 7.8 seconds. And Victor Bouveng, currently one of the quickest cars on the track. The quickest driver out on circuit last time around was Tom Onslow Cole, a 2 minutes 6.8. And Onslow Cole really flying down in 15th position. He's about to overhaul Fu Songyang. Now here is our third place car, Pro-Am class leader Marcello Hahn. up behind Ivor Dunbar. And Hahn looking to squirt through, sees a gap to the inside of Ivor Dunbar, slips past. Perezzini, though, just a couple of seconds adrift of Marcello Hahn. Bouveng negotiates the chicane. Thunders on his way in the BMW as a spin for Marcio Basso and the sporting new Mercedes. Quick rotation that the Dubois de Beauzet should be able to reach on without too much drama. So this is Giovanni Venturini, who's already found a way past Alex West. And Venturini, his last lap of 2 minutes 8.2. His next target, Mario Plasciuta. They've got Michael Mack as well, just behind them. And Mack has been one of the star performers all weekend in the Spirit of Race Ferrari. He's trying to drive around, of course, a 10-second penalty. So Mack on the road is in 8th position. Once you apply the 10 seconds to Michael Mack, he suddenly drops down into 12th. So for Mack, it's a case of not only how many cars he can overtake, but also how much ground he can pull on those behind. West, though, currently 4th in the Pro-Am class, busy asserting his ground. A good reason here. It's Mario Plasciuta. He's a little bit slower than Alex West. Might slip into the clutches of West over the remaining 12 minutes of the race. So Matt gains the place, moves up to 7th on the road. Giovanni Venturini just behind there. There's a glimpse of Francesco Cini and the Solaris Aston Martin. He's in 9th. Albert Costa in 10th, the championship leader in the Emil Frey Racing Lexus. Just wonder if the Lexus team, we didn't really see all of their pit stop. They had a slightly slow one because wouldn't have expected Venturini to have emerged ahead of them, but that's what happened. And now Costa's got the slightly invidious position of trying to pick his way past the number 7 Aston Martin, which has been very, very quick in a straight line all weekend. Another look at the move from Michael Mack on Alex West. And West, I suspect, with one eye on the points, not fighting that too hard. Miguel Ramos consulting the screen in the pit box. Now here is Giovanni Venturini. Venturini, well, is 3rd place on a possibility. He needs to find about 15 seconds. He's currently reeling in at 2 seconds a lap. So that rate of capture, not maybe likely, but he could possibly gain a few more places. Mario Plasciuta is his first target. He should be with Plasciuta fairly quickly. There you see him. And there is Venturini. The first task is the lappery of Ivor Dunbar. Meanwhile, the fight for 3rd place has well and truly come alive between Marcello Hahn and Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. They're separated by just half a second. It's through the Courbe du Cygne for Francesco Cini. And today being a much better day for the Solaris team. Cini about to challenge Alexander West for 8th place. Now here it is, here's the fight for 3rd, Perezzini and Hahn. This is also the battle for Pro-Am honours. Now what can Pier Giuseppe Perezzini do? In the first half of the race, it was Alan Hellmeister who had the advantage over Marcello Hahn. Or over, it was Marco Ciocci who had the advantage over Alan Hellmeister. In the second half of the race, it's Marcello Hahn who's got the advantage over Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, but for how long? Perezzini doesn't want to risk too much here at the wheel of the AF Corse Ferrari. At the same time, he is in clear air, a good second a lap quicker than the car in front of him. So where does Perezzini make the move? He looks into the tight corner. Oh, there's almost contact as they both elbow each other. And Marcello Hahn doesn't want to concede to Perezzini, but eventually he has to. Perezzini went for the move late, but Hahn has still got a good run through the Virage des Cols as they come onto the Mistral straight. This is far from settled. Perezzini moves across, covers the inside line. The Mercedes is right behind him. Headlights ablaze as Perezzini punches the hole as they head towards the chicane. Hahn looks one side, then the other. But the Ferrari can brake just that little bit later, but not that late. Perezzini makes the mistake, runs off the road. He's going to rejoin almost in the path of Marcello Hahn. And so Hahn regains the position. Fantastic fight this for class honours, an outright podium. And it's all suddenly kicked off as the pair of them head towards the Courbe du Cygne. They swing through the right-hander down towards the Du Bourgeois de Beauzet. And they are going to be on Michelin tyres that have probably seen slightly better days at this point. Here is another look at it. Perezzini. It was a big lunge. Marcello Hahn, though, only saw him at the last moment. Fortunately backed out of the move, because otherwise that would have got pretty messy. Then into the chicane. Perezzini braking very, very late. Was never going to make the corner, and thereafter was just really trying to fight his way back on. So Perezzini coming back at Marcello Hahn. Needless to say, this is not going to be either driver's quickest lap of the race. And it just starts to open up the possibility here for Giovanni Venturini of slipping onto the podium, because across the line they come, a 2 minutes 11 apiece. In the background you see Mario Plasciuta, and Giovanni Venturini in 6th, comes past now 2 minutes 7 for Venturini, so he's a good 3 seconds quicker than Hahn and Perezzini, and he's now only 10 seconds adrift of this scrap. Again, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. This is where he attempted the manoeuvre a lap ago. Thinks much better of it this time around. The Ferrari driver looking to consider where can he force the manoeuvre on Marcello Hahn. Hahn in the Drivex Mercedes uses every inch of the road a little bit more. Coming on to the Mistral straight. Now here is second place man Andrea Fontana. Fontana is 8 seconds adrift of Victor Bouveng. Bouveng continues to lead. There he is in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW, and this is looking very good for the Teo Martin squad's first victory of 2017. But for the misfortune for Lourenco Beral de Viega, it could possibly have been both cars onto the podium this afternoon. As it is, Bouveng out front, just 6 minutes remain. I think we're going to have time for 3 more laps by the time that Victor Bouveng crosses the start and finish line. And a very well-managed race strategy for Fran Rueda and Victor Bouveng. They've not really been in the thrust of wheel-to-wheel dicing this afternoon, but it has played out absolutely beautifully for them as Bouveng accelerates through. Still running in the mid 2 minute 8 second bracket, and that means that Andrea Fontana becomes an ever more distant dot in his rear view mirror. Fontana conceding another couple of tenths of a second. And then the fight for third continues apace just behind. Here it is, Hahn and Perezzini. Perezzini, not unsurprisingly, exercising a little bit of caution after the adventures of a couple of laps ago, but he sees a little bit of a hole towards turn 1. Tries to force the mistake from Marcello Hahn. Hahn may be a little bit abrupt with the way that he turned through the corner there. The Mercedes just porpoising with a change of direction. So it allows Marcello Hahn to close back up onto the tail, or Perezzini to close back up onto the tail of Marcello Hahn. Mario Plasciuta in 5th, the third of the Pro-Am cars. Well, he is 6 seconds back from this. As Rob Bell, Tom Onslow-Cole go wheel to wheel. Alex West part of this as well. This is the fight for 12th and 13th position, and Tom Onslow-Cole has been an absolute star this weekend, and this is a chance for the Mercedes to gain more ground, or is it? Rob Bell tries to fight it, can't quite do it. Alex West takes evasive action. He will probably lose out to Michael Grenier as well by the time he rejoins. That's exactly what happens. So elevates Onslow-Cole to 11th, Bell to 12th. Their next target, Eduardo Liberati, is just a couple of seconds up the road. And once they can clear Liberati, then that gets them into the points. Albert Costa as well, just ahead of Eduardo Liberati. So fascinating battles in these late stages here in Paul Ricard. Particularly as well with an eye towards Pro-Am points, because this is the fight for 4th and 5th in the Pro-Am class as well, between Onslow-Cole and Rob Bell. So for Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow Cole. This is certainly a weekend that's going to bring them into the mix in the Pro-Am Championship battle. For Rob Bell and Sean Balfe, slightly more disappointing as the penultimate lap gets underway with Victor Bouveng at the wheel of the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. Bouveng's lead over Andrea Fontana extending further still on the last lap, and this is now the point of the race where Bouveng is listening for every single gear change in the car, hoping that nothing goes wrong, because so far this afternoon everything has gone right. Meanwhile, in the fight for third, it's advantage Marcello Hahn. He is a little bit further up the road ahead of Pier Giuseppe Perezzini when we last saw them. And as they don't slow each other down dicing, it also means the rate of capture from Giovanni Venturini in 6th position is slowed somewhat. And so it's going to be one of these two cars that's going to complete the outright race rostrum and win the Pro-Am class. Which one it's going to be, we will find out in the next lap and a half, but it's looking pretty good for the Drivex Mercedes. Well, for Andrea Fontana, he was very, very unlucky not to be on the podium in Spa-Francorchamps, but he and Vito Postiglione are looking set for a trip to the podium through the heat haze. The Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. Looks like the team are going to have both of their cars onto the rostrum this weekend, and both of them on in 2nd position. Victor Bouveng has got just over 6 kilometres of racing ahead of him as he navigates the final sector of the lap for the penultimate time. And Bouveng and Rueda, they have been ever more impressive, really, with each performance so far this season in the International GTOpen. The Estoril meeting was a case of finding their feet. Then they finished runners-up in race 1 at Spa. There is Teo Martin, team principal, watching his car head into its final lap. So Victor Bouveng in pursuit of victory. Slips through the first turns without any concerns whatsoever. His lead over Andrea Fontana unassailable unless something were to go wrong. There is the Italian. Fontana, after that last lap drama, of course, in Spa when he had contact with Albert Costa. No such concerns today. Did the racing he needed to immediately post pit stop as Marcello Hahn and Pier Giuseppe Perezzini continuing to run in tandem in pursuit of the Pro-Am class victory. Perezzini, though, running out of opportunities. But he sees he almost saw half a hole there. The inside Marcello Hahn. Hahn runs a little bit wide as they head into turn 6, but Perezzini can't take advantage of it. Through the Mistral chicane, meanwhile, for Victor Bouveng, just half a lap between himself and the checkered flag as he accelerates serenely towards Courbe du Cygne. The clock ticks to 0 as Bouveng negotiates the fast right-hander, heads towards the Du Bourgeois de Beauzet. As he comes out of the second of those right-handers, that will then really begin to feed him back towards the pits. The Teo Martin Motorsport team watching, they just want Bouveng to get through to the end of the lap. And when the car comes into sight, they know they can start celebrating. And Bouveng is nearly there. Imperiale Racing team and Vito Postiglione ready to celebrate Andrea Fontana home as well. But Bouveng has just got one turn to go as he heads towards the Virage du Pont. Comes out of the right-hander. He can now see the pit boxes. He will see any moment now the checkered flag as Victor Bouveng and Fran Rueda take victory in the 6th round of the International GTOpen. For Teo Martin Motorsport, the team celebrate on the pit wall. Andrea Fontana and Vito Postiglione taking 2nd position as Imperiale Racing celebrate, but who will finish in 3rd? Rueda and Martin celebrate. It is going to be Marcello Hahn, the Drivex Mercedes team, who takes 3rd place overall and wins the Pro-Am class, just ahead of Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, with Mario Plasciuta completing the Pro-Am podium with an excellent 5th place in the race overall. there is still a battle for the AM class, because Alexander Traquina has caught Alex Moiseev through the course of this last lap. So let's keep an eye open for that as well, as Francesco Cini taking an excellent 8th position ahead of Eduardo Liberati and Albert Costa. Then Tom Onslow Cole, the Garage 59 team, having had a difficult weekend, finishing in 14th and 15th respectively. And the AM class, we'll update you with that in about 15 seconds time when Moiseev or Traquina crosses the line, as Bouveng and Fontana celebrate. Here we go. Oh, it's going to be very, very tight, as Alex Moiseev does just through the final lap hold off Alexander Traquina. So Moiseev and Rizzo, double winners in the AM class this weekend. But today has been all about Victor Bouveng and Fran Rueda. A beautifully managed race from the Teo Martin Motorsport team. Great drive from Fontana and Postiglione, and Marcello Hahn, Alan Hellmeister winning the Pro-Am class. 3rd in the race overall. The Drivex Mercedes seemingly getting better with each and every outing. So really, really enjoyable race again from the International GTOpen. And a lot of very quick cars finishing just outside the top 10 as well, which makes for a fascinating complexion as the championship unfolds. Albert Costa and Philip Fromenvila, the championship leaders, just getting a single point, and the championship leaders coming into the weekend, Dominic and Mario Farnbacher, retiring from both races. So let's look at the classification then. Victor Bouveng and Fran Rueda taking the victory from Vito Postiglione and Andrea Fontana. Marcello Hahn, Alan Hellmeister in 3rd, and they win the Pro-Am class from Pier Giuseppe Perezzini and Marco Ciocci, and then Mario Plasciuta and Thomas Jaeger. Excellent 5th, Lechner racing pairing. Thomas Biaggi and Giovanni Venturini a fine 6th, ahead of Miguel Ramos and Mikel Mack. Then Francesco Cini, Mauro Calamir, Eduardo Liberati and Kang Ling. Tom Onslow Cole setting fastest lap of the race, en route to 4th in the Pro-Am class and 11th overall, just ahead of Sean Balfe and Rob Bell. Difficult weekend for the Garage 59 pairings. They finish 14th and 15th, but an even worse weekend for the Farnbachers. 2 non-finishes for them, likewise for Renko Beirao de Viega and Augusto Farfus. So in terms of the championship then, Albert Costa and Philip Fromenvila lead it by just 3 points from Biaggi and Venturini, with Rueda and Bouveng jumping up to 3rd in the standings, just 4 points adrift, and they share that 38-point mark with the Farnbachers and Miguel Ramos and Mikel Mack. In short, we have got a thrilling title fight on our hands. Of course, we'll next be in action on the 1st and 2nd of July at the Hungaroring. The International GTOpen returning to the Hungaroring for the first time in several seasons. Victor Bouveng faces the challenge of how he clambers out of the BMW, but he is absolutely overjoyed with that. Taps the car. Joined by Rueda. A pair of them celebrate, likewise for Andrea Fontana and Vito Postiglione. Great performance in the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. Bouveng jumps into the arms of the Teo Martin Motorsport mechanics. And thanks them for all of their hard work over the weekend. Oh, a big smile from Marcello Hahn. Really well done in the Drivex Mercedes. Receives the congratulations of the team. 3rd place overall and Pro-Am victory. Hot work, of course, in the cockpit of these cars. Thumbs up from Fontana and Postiglione. Bouveng just to unclip himself from helmet, hands, device, radio and the rest of it. Lots of very happy drivers down in Parc Ferme. Marco Ciocci passing on his congratulations as well. It's time. In the meantime, plenty to debrief and discuss. Let's go and hear from our race winners, Victor Bouveng and Fran Rueda.
Fran Rueda, Victor Bouveng, first victory. Well done, guys, in a very hot afternoon. Fran, how was it?
Really good. I mean, fantastic weekend all way long. We focused our weekend to the victory on Sunday. We only did with one set Saturday's race, so yesterday it was really tough to finish with a good pace, and today it was amazing. We knew we put everything in the weekend to go for the victory today.
Victor, you almost had little to do in the second part.
Yeah, for sure. Fran did a really good job in the beginning to deliver the car in a great spot. Then it was just some cars to overtake, and then we can just go to the victory. It feels amazing. I have to say thank you to the guys in the team, BMW Motorsport, and all my sponsors. It's amazing feeling to get my first victory here in GTOpen, and a perfect weekend. We cannot say more than that. Thank you.
Well done, guys. There will be more. Podium now.
It was Andrea Caldarelli who led away from pole position as the 26-car strong field hurtled towards the opening turns, with Thomas Jaeger slotting to second, Marco Ciocci into third, as everybody else squabbled for position. Kang Ling was one of several who had plenty of adventures in the early stages. So many cars on track, there was dicing to be found throughout the pack as Miguel Ramos had his race face on and was steadily picking his way up through the pack, demoting from Vila early on. The race one winner then pushed a little bit too hard, and contact with Lourenco Barral de Viega unfortunately saw the BMW eventually moving into retirement. Post pit stops, and Fu Song Yang inherited the lead from Caldarelli, but was quickly shuffled through the pack. As Victor Bouveng took the lead, Andrea Fontana moved into second, and Marcello Hahn moved up to third. Duncan Tappi, meanwhile, was doing his best to carve through the field, moving ahead. Alexander Fraquina. Giuseppe Perezzini made this move on Mario Plasciuta to snatch fourth place, and then reeled in Hahn. But despite the Italian's very best efforts, the Brazilian was able to keep the Mercedes ahead and therefore retain the lead of the Pro-Am class and third in the race overall. That was the crucial error from Perezzini that allowed Hahn back through. Meanwhile, for Victor Bouveng and Fran Rueda, they and the Teo Marti Motorsport team managed the race to perfection and came through to score their first victory of 2017, with Andrea Fontana and Vito Postiglione taking excellent second for Imperiale Racing, with Marcello Hahn and Alan Hellmeister winning the Pro-Am class and third overall for the Drivex team. A mood of jubilation and celebration at the foot of the podium as Hahn and Hellmeister celebrating third place. They thoroughly enjoyed that. Runners-up, Andrea Fontana and Vito Postiglione. And you can hear from the cheers our race winners, Fran Rueda and Victor Bouveng, for Teo Marti Motorsport to the top step in Paul Ricard.
Mesdemoiselles, Messieurs, les trophées vont être remis par Monsieur Philippe Larieux, directeur régional commercial chez Michelin, et de Madame.
On to the presentation of the trophies and the Drivex pairing. Really, really pleased with that. The car has had so much potential all season, and they have been rewarded with an excellent third place. Runners-up, Vito Postiglione and Andrea Fontana. Great weekend for the Imperiale Racing team. Fran Rueda and Victor Bouveng, they hoist the trophies aloft on the top step of the podium to the applause of the team down underneath the rostrum. And likewise for the BMW, seeing Teo Martin, celebration. First triumph of 2017. And with the trophies having been handed out, it's time to move on to the bubbly. Celebrations in the sunshine, and Paul Ricard. It's been an excellent weekend of racing for the International GTOpen, really entertaining, and battles that are taking the title fight to a knife edge as we head towards the Hungaroring on the 1st and 2nd of July in 3 weeks' time. Before we do that, though, we have got the Pro-Am podium. Class being claimed by Marcello Hahn and Alan Hellmeister. Runners-up, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini and Marco Ciocci, with Mario Plasciuta and Thomas Jaeger completing the Pro-Am podium. So Lechner Racing making their seasonal debut in the International GTOpen. 5th place overall, 3rd place in the Pro-Am class. Team richly rewarded. Excellent performance from Jaeger in qualifying in the first half of the race. And then Mario Plasciuta maintaining an excellent pace through to finishing 3rd in class. Runners up in class, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini and Marco Ciocci. Well, Perezzini did all that he could do to claim the class victory, but it wasn't quite enough. But it's been a very solid weekend for Perezzini and Ciocci. To the top step of the podium for Marcello Hahn and Alan Hellmeister, and our class runners-up taking their place 2nd on the rostrum.
Mesdames, Mesdemoiselles, Messieurs, en l'honneur de vainqueur l'hymne espagnol.
The Drivex school team claiming victory in the Pro-Am class as the racing celebrate 3rd place for Thomas Jaeger and Mario Plasciuta. Runners up, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini and Marco Ciocci. Really good weekend for the AF Corse Ferrari pairing. Fantastic performance from Alan Hellmeister and Marcello Hahn. They win the Pro-Am class here in Paul Ricard. So, a couple of weeks pause, then it all starts again on the 1st and 2nd of July in the Hungaroring. We'll see you there. So we'll head to the AM podium now with Marcio Basso and Jose Balbiani for the Sporting Mercedes team, 3rd in the class, which is where they finished yesterday. Runners-up in the class for the MS Racing team, Alexander Fraquina and Martin Conrad. Both Fraquina and Conrad having excellent weekends. Certainly inserting themselves into the mix when it comes to the AM class honours at the end of the season, and then our double GTAM class winners this weekend, Alex Moisev and Davide Rizzo for Kaspersky Motorsport and finishing an excellent 16th overall. On to the presentation of the trophies then. So, a couple of spins along the way for Marcio Basso and Jose Balbiani, but it all came good with the result at the end of the weekend. After the disappointment of Spa, Martin Conrad and Alexander Hraquina bouncing back in the best possible way to find second place finishes in the class, with Davide Rizzo and Alex Moisev double winners in the AM class here in Paul Ricard. The battles will reconvene in 3 weeks' time at the Hungaroring, but until then, as the drivers are about to celebrate with the champagne, it's goodbye from Ben Evans in Paul Ricard.
Voilà, merci à nos amis, donc Radia Aliadji de chez Michelin et Philippe Larieux. Bravo à tous les pilotes. Merci à vous. Voilà, et on va se retrouver dans quelques instants avec Joël qui nous attend de l'autre côté après. Et merci à toute l'organisation. J'étais ouf, c'était chaud. Et les paddockman également qui nous entourent ici au circuit Paul Ricard. Là, il y a eu 3 podiums assez chauds, là, voilà. Parce que vous l'avez compris, il y a les pilotes, l'origine des pilotes, le pays des pilotes, mais c'est surtout le drapeau qui monte et l'hymne que vous entendez, qui est l'hymne du team. Voilà, donc pas de confusion, tout s'est bien passé. Et dans quelques instants, mon cher Joël, qui est le speaker officiel de ce championnat de France, que l'on va retrouver avec plaisir du côté des commentaires. Et mon cher Joël, eh bien, on peut voir que la température ici au circuit Paul Ricard, le week-end dernier, il y avait le Grand Prix à Lyon. Aujourd'hui, c'est dans le cadre de ce GT International Open. Et là, la température a monté. Je rappelle que dans 15 jours, il y aura le Blancpain, mais on aura l'occasion d'en reparler en clôture tout à l'heure. Voilà, mon cher Joël, et merci encore une fois.